Good morning, you wonderful souls. How is everyone doing this beautiful Wednesday? Excuse me, I still have a small little cough, comes up from moment to moment, but I'm 99.5 at least percent all better. I feel really good. So excuse me. uh, so I was shown today to, I don't know that I call it a theme per se, because I only had three memories that came to mind of a particular kind of journey that I've experienced during the channeling. Um, these were the three things. Excuse me. Were I was somehow involved. Well, maybe one of the times was sort of solo, but the other two times was in a community um, circumstance. So I was doing something that I don't consciously have knowledge or skills of in this life body. So I don't know if it was past life or what dimension that was in. The first of them was that I recalled was I was sitting at a loom weaving, and I could feel in my fingers even when I came back from that the sense of the yarns or the materials in my hands doing it. So that was fun because I don't remember, but I recognized a pattern emerging, but that it was definitely felt like a task, a common task, and it was a meditative experience in that journey part. Another of these was that I was doing stonemasonry, kind of like building something that with many people. Um, I remembered that I was helping at one point pass stones along to someone else. Another time I was there, like mortaring and putting together. I would like to think I was doing something like those great um, monolithic kind of buildings and constructions that are being discovered. I don't really know. I think it was probably more current, more not maybe modern day, but current from maybe centuries ago. Building, a lot of things were just built out of stones and concrete and bricks and things like that. So, um, and then the third thing was, oh, I was playing a violin. Now, in this life, it took years for me to even find appreciation for a violin. I really, for many years, felt it like, just not aligning with my sensitivities. And then at some point, I had a breakthrough, and I remembered, oh, that's beautiful. That's a high frequency. It's really beautiful, and I love a well played violin anyway. So that was something I've never trained in doing, and I don't know, but I felt the movement, the arm on the bow and the could hear music from that experience and that journey. So I'm grateful that I get to explore all those things and that I don't feel like it's a requirement that I pick up the fiddle or that I go out and build a wall and or anything like that. Um, I might consider some loom, that could be fun weaving. The closest I came to that was in Girl Scouts many, many, many years ago, where we did these like pot holders, with like little yarn bands. Some of you may be old enough to remember those kinds of things, and that was sort of a weaving, but not the same as out of big loom. So anyway, that's it. So those kinds of treasures, gifts that I have in offering myself to be the vessel for spirit sharing through me is profound. I find that whether I'm in a meditative state with sitting with my angels or the masters, or whether it's activities like this or journeying into other countries to helping people who are experiencing transition through natural or otherwise, disastrous type experiences. It goes on and oh my goodness, what a gift to me. Better than lucid dreaming, for sure. I've had some lucid dreams. These are sort of, they're so multi-dimensional. They don't fit what I usually have considered my own lucid dreams. which are only a handful that I've had anyway. So that's this experience today. I'm feeling ready to shift. Um, Let me think if I needed to share anything else. No. So we'll see what the message is today. Well, beloved masters, how are you feeling in your many bodies of light this now moment? I am called Master Tsen Tsing of the Council. Holy, I am your brother. This is my great joy that I share with you some stories about Shambala. Many interpretations and ideas about this over the centuries of your times, but I will tell you that it is both an etheric temple which exists in the other realms because it is in itself only anchored in the physical through remnants of what it lived in the physical world. When was this? My experience with that was over, let's just round it to 12,000 years ago. More than that, but we'll say 12,000 for easy's sake. This vibration of this temple is a teaching place. It is like a monastery by some standards of what is thought of in Buddhist culture these days. But this was before Buddhist culture. It was, we can say, more in Taoist tradition than it was in what, although the Buddhist energy of the divine has always been in these things, of course. But the master who was named the Gautama Buddha in these earthly times was not physical in those realms in that time. So I would say that in that so-called space of the temple, the many rooms of this temple, considered like many temples built in more so-called modern times, like Rome and Greece, for example, or Egypt, there would be rooms or places which came to a sanctuary, a sacred place, which was the considered the heart or the frequency of the vibration of the heart of the divine that dwelled there. It was not truly physically that and only that, but it represented that, and there was high frequency and was high opportunity for any priest or monk or student who would be entering into that place to feel their meditation was almost instantaneously bringing them into this frequency, which I refer to as the heart of God one, meaning the one of all light, all frequency of love. So, when I welcome my beautiful friends to come to visit with this place, I am acknowledging that all of us already are part of this sacred space. It's just represented in Shambhala as a frequency of love, a frequency of consideration for all teaching. Why do humans need teaching if they are attuned only to that? Because it is a matter of learning communication of that frequency in ways that would serve those to awaken and to find peace in their day-to-day of their own life. So, for example, I learned languages, many, many languages. Dialects, some might refer to them, but they were all distinct and had purpose. And in all of that, I came to that learning or that teaching very quickly because I had a gift, you might say, into my form to have an understanding or a so-called ear for the frequency of similarity in the languages. What was the tone? Such as now you might say, Om. might be a little, but like I am. You see, it's a very similar frequency of language with similar intent of the one, of the union, of the wholeness that is capable to form, create, and be everywhere. So my gift, languages and herbs and gardening and flowers and such, I was treasuring in that life experience, working along the hillsides of the mountains, looking for the beautiful flowers and fragrances, and then using those to create remedies or assistance in the self-healing remedies that were given. So, what is your gift? What are you feeling drawn to in this time that is your specialty, some would refer to it? I encourage you to acknowledge it. If you haven't, then be open to asking to be shown that, to be have that revealed to you. And then I encourage you to work with your ego mind to remove the authority that you think you have with it, or the professional expertise, or any of those kinds of things which might be referred in human day-to-day life as somehow setting yourself above and beyond anything or anyone else, or it becomes competitive and proving to that ego mind. So just look at that, to have that conversation with yourself, to say, I'm going to re-language this in a way that serves not only my wholeness of identity and expression, but the wholeness of those that I'm here to serve with. I added that word, do you hear that? To serve with. We're all here are giving in service, whether they know or not. What are they giving? Maybe they're not conscious. Maybe it's distortions from this limited ego mind. Maybe it's a whole recognition of their whole presence and being. So be it. But you are in communion and with, in service always. So, in Shambala, we have, in that temple, in my teaching in that time, the frequency of the color, the frequency of the rays of light were gold, green, and violet, as you understand them now. This sometimes is seen within some of the remnants of Buddhist teachings that show up in various diversions, you might say. For example, in Tibet, where it is close to the Shambhala, there is more than the Dalai Lama, which was a spiritual leader. There is a Karmapa, another high and holy spiritual leader for another focus for these teachings. And those frequency colors are often the gold, green, and violet frequencies. So there's not competition or right or wrong and who's better or not better. They're both carrying a big teaching and a big light. Also, they each have then a distinct purpose for working in their community and working in an outer way. The current Dalai Lama has had a great purpose in reaching outward to even larger and larger communities beyond the temples and the teachings in his old so-called residency in Tibet. He's now revered by many, many who don't even know to understand practicing of the so-called religiousness of Buddhism, but that there is something very holy and joyful about this soul's frequency. We resonate very much with this beautiful soul in our own experience of laughing very much, of simplifying everything into, it doesn't sound the way I speak sometimes, that I'm simplifying. But in my consciousness, I know it is so simple. So I share these ideas with you so that you become open to your own visitation within your heart center to this sacred communion of this planetary presence of the great divine one. Does it live in Jerusalem? Of course. Does it live in Rome? Of course. Does it live in your household? Yes. It's not that there's only one space, but that there have been um, what some would call mm, vortex or vortices, sacred communion points upon the earth that have been set up as within the earth and in the cosmos, uh, extraordinary locations for connection and communication in the realms of here and everywhere. Hmm. So the good news is when you understand your own frequency through your conscious breath, through your meditation, through your visualization, and you notice that you're more than here in this form, more than here in this physical spot you may be sitting or being standing present with. These are mm, the moments of acknowledgement that you become connected with the frequencies of the communication of the masters and the angels, of the brethren of other galactic and intergalactic and beyond realms. You can and will, whether you receive it as an audio frequency, as an internal frequency of knowing, as other means in which you feel the sensation of it, so be it. Be mindful of that. You need not have been physical in Delphi to become an oracle in order to be a perfect channel of divine light for your own life and for that place within. Your role that you cosmically chose from your soul to play in here, to serve in and with those who are attracted into your world in an intimate way and those who are attracted into your world in ways that you may never know. You may not have ever visited certain locations on the planet. Doesn't mean you don't have resonance and soul connection frequencies that are linking, if you will, to create that which your souls come here to create in playful and intentional service. One other thing I want to share with you then this day is about the numbers that are predicted in so many realms as having certain meaning and certain relevance, and they are all symbolic because yes, there is numeric power in the between realms. Obviously, it's a frequency. Is some masters here, Van Enlightenment said, if we're going to communicate with other beings, some other place beyond Earth, it will probably be in the language of mathematics. That's a presumption because it exists. Whether it's interpreted in the symbolisms that you have been assigning it here, it exists, those ideas. So let's just say that in the numbers, some will say that your numerologies that you have studied have continuous powers in certain ways, and we agree. Whether you're looking at the double or triple digits, whether you're looking at the 144,000, which is symbolically placed into some old writings. Let me also say that based on that 144,000, whatever that number is in its exponential highest truth, it is the point where there is the so-called tipping. No, I'm not talking about Earth on the axis, but the tipping of a paradigm and a cycle of humanity which is open now to the highest and newest so-called fifth dimension by some people's measuring of it, but into that which is the era of peace that is possible. When enough souls have gone past the awakening state to the conscious acceptance of who they are without having to understand it or know it, through that reaching the state of intention to be peace, to bring peace in the world, when that is exponentially achieved on the earthly plane, not far from now actually, that so-called majority of consciousness doesn't need, you know what the majority is. In most cases it's over 50% by your understanding. In some cases it's measured differently, but it is more than half, more than the minimums that used to have seemed available. So yeah, you're so close in the human world to reaching this. Don't give up. Believe. Though it may seem divisive and full of angst and fearsome possibilities presented now for the humanities that live here, continue to remember the vision, the experience, the knowing that you have, that your intention to heal and be in peace and to let that shine forth is of greater value than it might appear in the moment. It isn't that the light has to fight the dark. We remind you again and again. The light has nothing to do with that. There's no fighting. It is loving, which means that it accepts the dark as it perceives itself to be. And as we always hold, that any human who portrays themselves consciously or otherwise as living in this so-called darkness, it is their own shadow of not accepting that they are here in light, whether they know it yet or not. They are in love, whether they know it or not. They cannot be not there. So once again, we remind you that whatever you call God, divine realm, wholeness, light, all, is all that is. All that is. Can be no separation. Cannot. It lives where it lives within the all. It expands when it expands into a realization of being in the all. It's a wonderful dance. You are the light and you are love. And you are dwelling now in the heart of God one. So you are blessed in the gold, the green and the violet, where we all live in the heart of God as one. And so it is. Namaste. Hi. Thank you for my journey. Do I look as multidimensional as I feel in the moment? Like I can not even feel like I'm focusing. It's all very much like a pulsation in my body. And so I'm finding words. Yeah, not always easy to find the words. Because they seem so limited. So, well, once again, I remind you, if you're not receiving our daily messages or our notifications of other programs and classes and work play shops and things that we're doing, I invite you to do so. Check in on that. And there's a Saturday play shop the end of this month, the last Saturday of this month. Do I remember? No. Daryl always remembers. He'll probably put a comment somewhere in there about who's playing with us. In the moment, I'm just like not quite focused with that. There's some other opportunities, such as private, personal sessions and conversations with Spirit that are being offered throughout this month as an extension of what's going through January, and I was kind of out of commission for most of it. So a special 20% discount that I'm offering people who want to play in that realm. And many other things are brewing with Spirit and moving me into other places of organized opportunities. So I thank you for your presence with me, whether you're here in person in this live moment or you're listening in another moment. I feel you and I love you and I'm grateful. Thank you. And have a wonderful Wednesday. Have a wonderful rest of this week and beyond. Thank you.